First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakah, Kodash. Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahushai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashim means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I wanted to go into how fear not, the Lord is with us. Okay, and this is more of an exhortation type of video to just remind anybody that's listening to this to not fear, because Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is in control of everything. And if you believe in Him, you are under His good graces, and He is putting you through specific trials and tribulations to make you better. Right, scripture that always comes to mind when I'm going through some type of hardship is in Corinthians. It talks about how the Lord is not unrighteous to put more that we can bear. Let's get that in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man, but God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. Right, and that right there is a very comforting scripture, because it means that whatever you're going through, the Lord is going to make a way out, and it's not more than you can handle. Right, that's all you have to know, is whatever you're going through, you can get out of it, and it's not too much for you. Right, it's exactly the perfect test for you. Right, think about that right now. Whatever you're going through is the perfect test for you. Not less, not more, it's perfect. So whatever you have to learn, really look at your situation and be like, what is the Lord trying to show me? What is the lesson of this test? Because until you realize that, you're going to be in the same cycle of catching that hell. But once you overcome, you come out being a better man, a better woman, and more righteous. And when it talks about in Zechariah the 13th chapter that the elect are going to go through the furnace of affliction to be refined, that's what it is. Is the Lord's going to put you in situations to get rid of all those wicked traits that you had. Oh, you were impatient? Guess what? He's going to put you in a situation where you got to be patient. Oh, you were greedy? Guess what? He's going to put you in a situation where you only make enough. So, always remember that. And it's important that, while we're in, these trials, that you got to remember the Lord is with you. Okay, the Lord is not going to forsake you. Right? If you believe in Him, the Lord is not just going to give up on you. No, He's just looking to see what you do, when you're in that fire. You going to stay in that fire and figure it out? Or you going to give up and throw in the towel? So, let's start off with Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 1. It says, But now thus saith Yahweh that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. Right, and what is that showing you right there? That's showing you protection. That's showing you that, if you trust in the Lord, nothing is going to be able to touch you. Let's read it in the NLT. When you go through deep waters, I will be with you. Right? What do they say in boxing? Right? You gotta grab him and throw him into deep waters, going into those later rounds, because those later rounds in boxing really shows your character. Really shows if you prepared or not. So it's the same thing with the Lord. When we in those deep waters, in those deep trials, the Lord's trying to see what you made out of. Okay, if you're a real believer. It says, when you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire of oppression, you will not be burned up. The flames will not consume you. Right, and that comes, if you trust in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. Okay, let's read this in Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5. Trust in Yahweh with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Right? So whatever you do, you gotta always have that faith, that trust in the Lord that, hey, He got me. Hey, no matter, hey, what happens to me, I know He got me. I know I'm gonna get out of this. I know I'm gonna overcome. And when you got that blind faith, and that's what faith is. Is faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Well, I think that's it in Hebrews. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Right. So when you got that mentality of, hey, I don't know when I'm gonna get out of this, but I know the Lord got me. That's when the Lord lifts you up like you can't even imagine, because He's realizing that when you deep in that fire, you still believe. And here it is, you getting burnt up, and you still know the Lord gonna get you out. We gotta have the mentality of the three holy men, in the Babylonian captivity, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. How Nebuchadnezzar told them, "Hey, we gonna throw you in that fire," and they said, "Hey, let's actually get that account." Because what these brothers said, was powerful. Daniel 3. Where's the point? Right. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and He will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Right? So these brothers, they stood firm on the word. They said, hey, throw us in that fire. Right? If the Lord will, if He wants to, He gonna save us. And that takes true faith right there to be like, hey, fuck it. Hey, I know Yahweh Bashem Yahushua got me. Throw me in that motherfucker. That's what they were saying in the spirit. Straight vulgar, straight what it is. They said, throw me in that fire. And you go see how Yahweh Bashem Yahushua got me. I ain't gonna serve your false gods or golden image. Throw me in that fire. And because of that faith, when you go in to read what happened, it says that they were cast into the fire. And it says, he answered and said, verse 24, Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. And he answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Right, so those brothers were in that fire, not feeling a thing. And they had an angel right next to him, protecting them. So, going back to the point of the video, hey, the Lord is with us. The angels are with us 24/7. And if you got faith, you best believe that, hey, they're making works happen so that, you're not caught up in all types of situations. You're protected. Let's read this in Ecclesiasticus. And actually, before we get that, when I was reading this scripture, it goes to trust the Lord. Right? Let's see what that word trust means in the Hebrew. To trust, to have confidence, to be bold, to be secure, to hide for refuge, to throw one down on his back. Nope. Right? So trust means to have confidence in, right? Be secure in someone. And I searched it in the Google. It says firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. And the key word here is firm, right? You got that firm belief that, hey, whoever it is going to come through. And that's so important because, the Lord doesn't want you to be wishy-washy, on the fence, lukewarm. He wants you to be fully convinced. We can read that in James chapter 1 and verse 6 as an example. Let's start at verse 5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. right? So when you ask, when you pray, when it comes to anything dealing with the Lord, you can't waver, right? Let's see what that word means. Wavering. To separate, make a distinction. To be at variance with oneself, hesitate, doubt, right? So you can't doubt when it comes to the Lord. You have to have full trust that He is carrying you in His arms. And when you have that full trust, that's when He truly lifts you up. Okay, trust is an important component when it comes to this walk. And the thing about trust is that it's built, right? As you walk more and more with the Lord, and He puts you in situations, He saves you. He puts you in another situation, He pulls you out. That constant, cycle of, being at the bottom and the Lord putting you back up, that builds trust in the Lord. Because it's the same thing with the kid. The scriptures tell us to refer to the father as a father, right? So He treats us as His children, right? Why is it that, when you got that kid in your arms and you throw him all the way up, you ask him, are you scared that I'm going to drop you? Right? You throw him up in the air and catch him. If you were to ask this kid, are you scared that I'm going to drop you? He'd say no. And if you were to ask why, he'd say, because you've caught me before. So it's the same thing with the Father, man. We trust in Him because He's caught us before. So let's go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in His fear and was forsaken? Or do whom did He ever despise that called upon Him? Right? And the answer is none. Okay, none. All the men and women that trusted in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, He always came through. He always comes through. So, it says in Romans, look at the things written. It says the things written aforetime were written for our learning. Right, so these examples of these men and these women being righteous and the Lord delivering them, those stories, that history, is meant for us to read today to relight, that fire, that faith, that trust, and have that mentality. Hey, if He did it for them, hey, why can't He do it for me? That's the real mentality. Hey, if He did it for all those, great men back then, those believers, and He could do it for me too. And that mentality is what the Lord is looking for, is you trust in Him you trust in Him more than anybody. Okay, full belief in the Lord. And I always think about it, as we approach Jacob's trouble, and we see that time is starting to happen right now, as these evil days start getting more and more evil, we're going to have complete reliance upon the Lord. Okay, it's going to be literally dependence. Because everything carnally is going to fail. Your money is going to fail. If you got a woman, she'll fail. Your friends are going to fail. Even some brothers that believe are going to fail. Everything in this world is going to fail. But the only thing that won't fail is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And that's going to be our confidence. It makes me think of this scripture here in 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 70. It says, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Right, so talking about the end days, there's going to be persecution upon the believers. It says, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Right, so in that day, we're going to see who really believe in the Lord. Because that fire is going to be on the max. Okay, it's going to be on 10, ultra heat. It says, hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for God is your guide. And that right there, says it perfectly. That, in the evil day, in that fire, the Lord is the one that is going to deliver us from everything. So don't be afraid. Don't doubt. Just have trust and faith in Him. I'm going to get one more. Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 9. A man's heart deviseth his way, but Yahweh directeth his steps. So A lot of times, you be get in the flesh. You got all these plans and what you about to do, and I'm gonna do this and that. But you gotta always remember that Yahweh is the one in control, right? Hey, sometimes you be planning something and things pop up and it doesn't work. You be like, damn, things never go out the way I want to. Good, because if you would have done the things that you wanted to, it could have destroyed you. And if things just never work out, is because Yahweh is directing your steps in a more righteous path. Okay, there's no such thing as coincidences or mistakes. Everything is on purpose. So when you don't know what to do, when you're in those situations where it looks like all odds are against you, trust in Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rokakudash. So I'll leave it there. Hopefully it was edifying with that, and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rokakudash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of great millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to elect. Shalom.